Puss in Boots, such a great film. Such emotion, much wow. A children's movie made me feel things like, oh my god. I don't want to downplay the massive achievement of doing this to a children's movie, but there's something so very wrong here that I can't help but be cynical. To me, an anime fan, wait, don't go yet, I swear I'm going somewhere interesting with this. This is not surprising, and it shouldn't be surprising to you either, person with zero interest in, and let's not mince words here, all the bullshit that generally comes along with anime. Because this is just what the power of animation does. Now, you might be like, shut up, weeb, and ow, hurtful, but okay, fair. But would it surprise you to hear that I actually hate anime? Okay, interesting choice of words from someone with like 100 videos analyzing Japanese animation on his channel, particularly that one anime, you fucking weirdo. What I love is the medium of animation, and I merely tolerate anime because Japan is the only country that considers animation a serious artistic medium, whereas the rest of the world thinks of animation as that silly thing for children or comedy or children's comedy. Of course, there's stories that transcend this barrier. Futurama springs to mind, and obviously, as is the subject of today's video, Puss in Boots. And again, I don't want to downplay the achievement of doing this to a children's film, but when this is literally the only way your idiot country can possibly conceive of getting up to go watch an animated movie, think of how restraining this is for storytelling. Which is sad, because the reason animation is objectively the best storytelling medium is because it's so freeing. You can tell any story you want, and while any great movie is worth celebrating, we'd all be a little less surprised if we took animation a little more seriously. Wait, back up, objectively the best, that is a strong set of 3 words, but if you'll hear me out, I think I can convince you too. The problem with saying this though, even to weebs, is that people just get confused and start listing off their favorite live action and anime movies. Well, people have The Shawshank Redemption, but anime has Cowboy Bebop and also hentai. Shut up, weeb, this is completely missing the point. Look, there's literally nothing about my personal favorite anime that wouldn't work as live action. I say this because I translated the live action adaptation, which is not even a movie, but a 3-hour stage play, and believe me when I say it's a goddamn fucking masterpiece. So I'm not saying animation has better stories. I'm saying it has better potential for stories. Because you're not bound to what's real. I know this is a radical idea, and if you'd asked me this 10 years ago, I would have disagreed with you. I'd have told you that animation has the freedom to be imaginative, but it can never completely replicate the subtlest nuances of human emotion. And while that is true, what I've come to realize is that that is literally irrelevant to how we interact with emotion in storytelling. Classically, we have this idea that the eyes are the window to the soul and the essence of what makes us human, and there is something almost violently flawed about this idea. I want you to do something for me. Take any object within arm's reach and draw a couple eyes on it. Seriously, pick literally anything. Could be your phone, an eraser, your flashlight, I don't know, anything. Draw a couple eyes and suddenly, holy shit, it's a person. In the new Makoto Shinkai movie, there's a dude who gets turned into a broken chair, and we still accept him as human because there's 2 lines that kind of look like eyes. And not only is this the entire point of his character, the movie went so far as to point this out halfway through. The point I'm trying to make here is that there's nothing special about the actual human eye, and our abstract concept of the eye can be just as, if not more human than a literal human face. Take something like Beastars. Hiding behind whatever furry shit went into writing this is something so very human about this love story between a wolf and a rabbit. As a story about being true to yourself, tying their identities to animals and their base instincts is this abstraction of their humanity, and as a result, they become, in a lot of ways, even more human than if the story were told with people. To be fair, maybe we'd have a lot less skewed idea of the eyes without anime. I mean, if you look back to 2006, the trend was to have waifus with eyes the size of dinner plates that are a little too far apart, like they all have some kind of fucking disorder, and it is just hard to watch. But nowadays, artists have gotten a lot better at using eyes as abstractions of the soul. If you watch Attack on Titan, you'll notice that every single character has different sized eyes, and it's the younger characters that have the big, bright anime eyes as a reflection of their youth and inexperience, while the older, wiser, and more jaded characters have narrower eyes with careful, thoughtful expressions. But not only do the younger characters get to be more expressive, with larger eyes you can convey this expressiveness from much further away, which is really important in a story that relies on scale to work. And this is something you just cannot do with live action. Everyone, every human, young or old, has basically the exact same eyes. But with anime, you can do stuff like this. Because it's not the eyes that matter, it's the abstract concept of eyes that does. And humanity is only a restraint shackling down their platonic ideal. And the thing that convinced me of all of this, that animation is objectively the best medium, wasn't any anime. No, weird, surprising, it wasn't all the screaming and the titties. It was BoJack Horseman. And that's because it looks so shitty. I mean, it looks fine, but compare it to anime and it looks like fucking garbage. It's horrible. And yet, it's still able to capture every single bit of human emotion. There's one episode in particular where BoJack is giving a speech at his mother's funeral that is literally a poorly animated horse talking to himself in a room for 25 minutes. And it's the most fucking captivating 25 minutes of television ever produced. When you talk about the classical idea of human expression, you point to something like this. Talking, a monologue, you and the actor, in a world built for two. And yet this episode is so captivating despite, or arguably even because of, it lacking a human face. Because where I think the real essence of humanity lies is in the voice. While anything can be a face, our conception of a human voice is pretty fucking narrow. If it is even slightly, just slightly off, we're like, no. This is wrong. Sure, we're getting to the point where computers can emulate it, but again, they're emulating human voices. There's a reason no one's done Macbeth with just cats meowing at each other. I think, anyway, but maybe I'll be proven wrong there too, that it's not even the human voice that matters, but the ability to express pain and pleasure. Cats certainly have the ability to do that. I have a feeling things start to fall apart once you introduce language, but I mean, I was watching anime with subtitles before I understood Japanese. Who's to say you couldn't just add subtitles to a cat coming to grips with the fact that all those little animals she's been playing with were conscious to every single bat of her claws? Incidentally, all this is exactly why hentai is objectively the best form of pornography. If you have any form of sex education, then you should know that the brain is the biggest sex organ. And while I'm sure some of you enjoy watching two people who are very clearly only pretending to enjoy themselves squawk like a couple of injured parrots, us well-adjusted people recognize that abstracting pleasure and deliberately trying not to be realistic is just more appealing. Okay, Weeaboo, what did we say about gaslighting your audience into jerking off to hentai? We said do it, it's for their own good. Okay, where the fuck was I? Step on the like button? Yes? No? Yeah, no, that's probably kind of a stretch at this point, huh? So anyway, imagine, if you will, a story about a talking horse who's a washed-up celebrity from the 90s that struggles with how to be a good person. Imagine, if you will, a story about a giant hole in the world filled with every imaginable dark and wondrous thing as a metaphor for the intense longing and curiosity buried in the human soul. Imagine, if you will, a story about the war crimes of a bunch of talking rats that only pale in comparison to the atrocious sins of humanity, using their humanity itself as justification. While there is no story with people that cannot be told with animation, these are stories that are only really believable, only really possible through the medium of animation. And as long as we pretend that animation is some silly thing for kids, that animation producing stories that tug at the heart and soul of what it means to be human is something unexpected, something to be surprised about, the fewer of these stories we're going to have. So wake the fuck up, sheeple. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a film, not a children's movie, an animated film about a talking cat to go see.